Hi, it's Ellen Lewis from Crazy for You. And I wanted to invite you to join me on this wonderful interview that I have with the very charming Martin Storey from Rowan Yarns. We're talking about the midwinter make-along afghan that he designed for this fun chance to work some stranded knitting and make a beautiful heirloom product. You know that I am normally live on Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, but since Martin is in the UK and he would be fast asleep at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, we recorded this on July 28th. So I hope that you enjoy it. Let me bring Martin on. Hi, Martin.
Hi, everybody. Hi, nice to be here.
I'm so glad. It's so fun. I mean, here we are in the middle of, I don't know how hot it is there, but it's hot here. Thinking about
No,
Christmas.
I know. No, it's actually almost feels like Christmas weather here. I'm glad I've got my Christmas cardigan on from part of our collection that we've been launching this week. So yeah, it's not the temperatures that you're getting over there by any means. No, it's we're sort of averaging about 16, 17 at the moment, which is pretty cool. So
Oh, well,
yeah.
that's nice. It makes it feel a little more seasonal, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. It'd be nice to see some sunshine then before the summer's out, though.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a really fun make along with this Afghan, and it's so festive. Let's talk about like what was Christmas like for you growing up?
Well, Christmas for me growing up, I come from some people will know this, I come from a farming background. I was brought up on the east coast of England, and we all big family. So so Christmas was very much about family time, grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins. So growing up, there was always a big party of us. Christmas Day would be spent with probably grandparents and my immediate family, and then Boxing Day would be spent with extended family always, and that was the case growing up all through my young from being young to being sort of a young adult. And then obviously things evolve as, we all got older, married and having families of our own, and sadly parents and grandparents passing away. So it's sort of gone in a bit of an arc from being sort of, a super packed Christmas to a very, very quiet Christmas time now. It's obviously when we were young, it was all about, presents and decorations and the fun of Christmas and get involved in sort of school activities around that as well. But now it's more about, a quiet day with a swim in the Atlantic, and, having the flexibility to eat what we like and drink what we like, or do what we like. We can see friends, or we can just be at home being quiet. I think it also now it's governed by my Rowan deadlines. It's a busy time of the year in December. We're already preparing for spring summer. So Christmas for me now is about having downtime. And my family are now, my nieces and nephews, they're all grown and doing their own thing. And my sister now is she took on the mantle of hosting Christmas from my mum, and now she's free to go and do whatever she wants to do. So, but yeah, I have very fond memories of childhood Christmases, and particularly being on the farm and surrounded by animals, and that as well made it more special. And we lived remotely as well, so it was sort of, and we used to get, invariably we'd get snow as well, so that all made it feel more special as well.
Very cozy, right?
Yeah, very cozy.
Did your mom and your grandmother have like special things that they brought out just at Christmas time that you
Yeah,
remember fondly?
yeah. I mean, always. In fact, I've still got in my collection some of the decorations that had some very early. My grandmother had decorations from when she was a child, so she was an Edwardian adult. So I've still got some of the glass ball, and those traditionally came out every year. And my grandmother had this fun. I don't know what period it was, but it was one of the very first artificial trees in silver, which I believe my aunt has still got, and I'm trying to see if she'll let me have it at some time. And I do remember that coming out every year and being really fascinated by it. And then also they were both great cooks, so Christmas pudding, Christmas cake, and all of that I remember well. And also traditionally we'd always, particularly when we got together with my cousins as well, and my grandparents, party games were always a theme of Christmas. So yeah, nothing's particularly specific, but all those things sort of made it quite a very jolly occasion. So yeah, no, and my sister's been very, she's kept up those sort of traditions of Christmas pudding, Christmas cake, and all that sort of thing. So that's been nice. But I say now, I think it's non-traditional Christmas.
It's okay.
A bit more. I mean, I still bring out all the lovely decorations I inherited from my grandmother and my mum, and from other family members. They still feature very heavily in my Christmas.
So even though it's kind of a non-traditional Christmas for you, I mean, for me, bringing out the special decorations and the things like that you only get to see at Christmas. My mother was a huge collector of nutcrackers.
Oh yes, yeah.
Fanciful German nutcrackers. You probably have, I don't know, 4 dozen.
Yes, yeah. No, in fact, I have one of my trips many years ago to New York when I first started out in the knitting world, started designing. I used to do regular trips to New York for shows, and I used to always come back with some glass baubles from Macy's, and those come out every year. So it makes me think of that time as well when I was doing a lot of traveling over to the States, and they remind me of that. And they're sort of, that's another I think my tree is a tree of memories, memories from my childhood and my mum and my grandparents, and also from my travels as well. And also as I've, remind me of where I've collected I've bought things as I've gone along throughout the years. When I was at art school, I had, even those quite cheap little decorations that I could afford at the time. They even get put up on the tree. So the tree's very eclectic. It's not particularly one theme. It's a theme. It's all themes really. But somehow or other, it all sort of works together. So, but yeah, it's nice as you say, to bring those memories out once a year is it's quite poignant.
I love that. My mom used to give me, and then she gave the kids a Christmas ornament each year, and it sort of had something to do with whatever they were interested in that year. So, like you, the tree is a tree of memories. It's a way.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. No, I couldn't do Christmas without, even if I didn't do anything else, but the tree would always gets decorated. Some Christmases, if I've got the time, I really go to town on dressing the house, and I've got lots of lovely sort of garlands and things that I've collected throughout the years that I put up, and foliage and everything. But some years, depending how busy I am with Rowan and general knit design, at least the tree features,
Right.
if nothing else.
I think about this Afghan that you're doing as that kind of thing. Do you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah.
You make this is such an heirloom piece,
Yes, 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 absolutely. That was my idea. I'm not sure if you got involved with Knitted with Love, but it was blanket. I did it 2 years ago, and that was about heirloom and bringing the family into the blanket with you could put your initials and dates and things on that particular one, and that's the kind of feeling I wanted to get with this blanket, because a lot of the imagery is very sort of nostalgic, with the stag and the pine tree, forest tree, and all the snowflakes, all those beautiful snowflake patterns that we have in our traditional Fair Isle, Shetland Fair Isle, Nordic Fair Isle knitting, that still people go back to all the time. I've just tried to sort of bring it a little bit of sort of a little bit of contemporary design into it. With you'll see, look at the samples later, but you see I framed them all, so they're like little portraits as well. So I'm trying to make it special, especially if you're knitting it as a gift, or another member of the family. I think it's important that all that kind of goes into it as well, and also you can't go wrong knitted in our felted tweed, because the colours are so beautiful. I mean, that was the thing about putting this afghan together. There's so many gorgeous colours to choose from. You could go on, ad infinitum, putting colourways together. But I again, it's sort of like putting a bit of myself into the colours that I chose for these particular projects, because these are the colours that I always have worked with throughout my design career with Rowan and working with felted tweed. So a lot's gone into, quite a lot of thought has gone into that, and I think it's a design that can be used in a contemporary home as well as more in a traditional home, and the colorways as well reflect that. We've got brighter colorways, and we've got more muted sort of colors that would work with people's color schemes. So, and I think the imagery as well, the imagery is not too, it's not, it again will work in most home settings without it looking, too sort of like too overly vintage and or too overly modern. It sort of just fits in between there. So yeah.
No, it's perfect. And I think the colors that you chose are lovely, because they aren't your Christmas green and Christmas red,
No,
which can be
no.
sort of jarring. I mean, you could
Yeah.
probably bring that out the day after Thanksgiving and, keep it
Yes.
through,
Yes.
mid-January or whatever. I mean, you could probably keep it out for a long time, and
Yes.
it doesn't
Yeah.
necessarily look Christmassy. It just looks wintry,
Yes. 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 In fact, one of our colorways is called Wintry. We did. In fact, I've got some samples here. Probably a good time to look at those. This is in cushion form. This is the original colorway that I put together for when we were talking about doing doing the blanket. So I loved the clay in the felted tweed. I always think that makes a fantastic background. Oh, thank you. That's better for, so, but I kind of wanted to use the colours that I always work with, like the lovely rage red and the avocado, and the cinnamon, and the ginger colorway. Sorry, here. I can't distinguish from my left from my right when I'm on screen. And that
yes, it's very odd.
yeah, and lovely sea salter and the lovely pine, and so that's repeated throughout the cushion. So that kind of gives you a good indication. We're not actually offering it as a cushion pattern as such. We're just saying if people would like to knit a cushion, they could knit 18 squares, which form the front. So there's 9 squares on the front and 9 squares on the back, and the actual these are the top two. The top row and the middle row are the actual squares that we will be releasing throughout August and September, and then we've just doubled up the top row of squares again to make a cushion. So it'll fit an 18-inch 46 centimeter square cushion pad. But so that is Garland, my original colorway, the colorway that I've submitted when we were talking about that, as I say, featuring all my favorite colorways. Now I like the way that the colors are sort of mismatched, but they all work together as well. The sort of the tones and the richness of them work really well together. So that is our first colorway, which will be featured in this will be the colorway that will be mainly featured, and this is the blanket version behind me, which I've got on the stand here. That will be featured more in the releases, and then we've added some extra colorways on top of that. So this is the festive colorway, which is this is what I wanted to use. I thought the idea of having a darker background with some of the lovely bright colors that we've got now in the range, which we've only introduced fairly recently. So like the zinnia orange, and we've got the lime, the new lime, the lovely French mustard, and the lovely Barbara pink.
Yes, those are beautiful colors.
And the sulphur yellow as well. These are colors that we kind of road tested to see what the reaction would be, and they've had such a positive reaction. That
how has it been? Have people liked the dark or
the dark? Yes, people have reacted well to the dark. I mean, I think it's either you really love it or maybe not for me kind of colorway, because it is it is very bold. I mean, to have, it's quite a bold piece to I mean, I think as a cushion, just as a small sort of like bright piece in the home would work really well. I mean, I would have it as a throw as well. But I think people, people are either very much about sort of more sort of tonal, muted colors. I think the Garland it's still got the color, but it's not quite as bright and
that's less traditional. But you know what that reminds me of a little bit, Martin, is like stained glass, when you have the black leading and the colors really pop.
Yes, and then that's why I wanted to do it, because I thought it'd be interesting for the knitter to see how it looks on the images, how they look on the dark background, and they really come forward, like you say, like a stained glass window. So I mean, I'm hoping some knitters, as we go through the actual process, will actually pick up on this. Could be lovely to see people's versions of this particular colorway, and I think it's just good to have something in there that's a bit more pushing you in a different direction as well. Not because we've got all the lovely colorways that I'm sure people, I'll show you. We've got some 2 colorway suggestions as well, and I did get we've had a very good reaction to the 2 colorway versions, because obviously they're easier to fit in with if you want to trying to fit it into a sort of personal color scheme, they're much easier to work with. So we've come up with a more 2 color muted. This is the lovely charcoal gray that we've got in the collection, and then the background is that lovely slaty, slightly bluey gray. So this is just to show you how it works just in 2 colors. Obviously you could do again reverse have the darker gray with a lighter gray stags, should you wish to, if you prefer a much darker rich background. But I've sort of gone with all the sort of like the clay, the alabaster, the colors, the paler, more neutral colors that we have in the felted tweed, which are all very beautiful. We've got the stone as well, which is slightly more sort of greeny brown.
It's not as blue as it's showing on the screen here. I have those colors pulled. We have kits for this, all of it. But it's not nearly so blue. It's more of a clean gray.
Yes, it is. Yes, it's just got a little hint of bluiness to it than it would like a traditional light grey colour. And I think that gives it a bit more life as well, probably. It does it would probably you know, it might just sort of deaden the colours a little bit. But
But you know, the felted tweed has so much interest anyway,
yeah,
with
yes,
the little bits of this and that in there. Even though it's a solid, it doesn't, it's not boring. It's
yeah,
not
no,
flat. It's very
it's not
lively.
flat. No, no, that's the beauty of working with felted tweed. It just works. It just, because it's got so much interest within the yarn as well. So when you fair isle it, it looks even more, you know, beautiful and interesting, because you've got all the little neps and everything that give it character and give it that sort of heirloom quality as well. You know, it's sort of, these are sort of pieces that you know, you could have had in your collection for years and years and years. So but the two colorway ones and the original colorway are getting very positive interest, and then this one particularly, the mulled wine, this is the fourth. These are just my 4 color suggestions. So obviously, you know, it's personal choice, and there's lots of beautiful colors in the range should you wish to you know, experiment with. So this is the mulled wine, which is the tawny red, which is sort of this a very rich oxbloody red, and then that, and with the alabaster, which is a slightly I don't know how best to describe it. It's another sort of grey, but it's got a bit more taupe in it as well. So again, this one probably is the most sort of, if you're thinking of Christmas holiday, this is probably the most sort of the colorway that sort of kind of works with that. It's not a tradition, it's not the red cream kind of thing that you would do for Christmas, but it's a sort of nod in that direction. So if you want, you know, if you were specifically thinking about Christmas colors, this is probably something, or holiday colors, this is one piece that people have sort of picked up on for that reason. So, and again, it would look just as beautiful with the tawny background and with the alabaster and the imagery all in the alabaster color. So yeah, so that again, you know, I'm just using the 6 squares and just repeating them in a grid pattern. I can't remember how wide and how long the blanket is, but it's a manageable size. It's not, you know, it makes a very nice throw over a simple throw over a settee or a fireside chair, or I think people say lap blanket now. So, you know,
yeah, it's a throw.
Yeah, it is. But it's not like king size bed size or anything.
It's for a couch.
It is for a couch. Yeah. So that's what I was trying to sort of make it so it was substantial enough, but not overwhelming that you were having to, you know, piece together some, you know, a really large, even, I mean, of course you can go on extending it or making it smaller. It's up to you. You can do less squares or more squares. For this blanket, we had a question saying how many squares do we need to knit for each release. That will be in the information as the releases progress. So release 1 will say, I think it's the release 1 is one of the snowflakes with a tutorial for doing stranded color work. So there's release 1 and 2 both have tutorials, but release 1 is the snowflake, and it will say within the instructions, if you're making the blanket, you need to make X amount. Sure. I think that you're not making the same amount because the way the blanket works, you will have to knit more in one design than in the other. So you might knit 7 in one and 9 just to make it work.
You can pick your favorite ones and develop on those.
Yes, you can. Yeah, or you could just do it all in one imagery.
Yeah.
And you know, that it's entirely up to you. There's a choice of four snowflakes, so they're a bit sort of a combination of, you know, things I had in, you know, my old books and that I took inspiration from, and a bit of me tweaking, and the stag and the tree similarly, that was me, you know, again, as a result of my research, but having a play around with it to make it, because obviously you need to make it work each square is the same dimensions.
Right.
That's important, because obviously you don't want to end, creating an imagery and then ending up with one square larger than the other. So you have to, it's a bit of, there's a lot of mathematics has to go into this to
Yeah,
get
sure.
to get it working.
Some of those
Sorry.
squares look a little Scandinavian or Norwegian.
Yes, they are. They're definitely. I think my work always has been this kind of work that I design work has always been a hybrid of Shetland, sort of our Shetland Isle, stroke Nordic, stroke a little bit of Japan as well. Japan and Nordic imagery have there's a bit of cross fertilization there. I don't know why, but some of the Japanese like kimono and indigo traditions have very sort of Nordic, almost Shetland looking imagery, but in a sort of in a different way. I did a cushion in the recent Easy Fair Isle knits, and that was a hybrid. So it's quite nice to have that cross fertilization and taking inspiration from all sorts, all these traditions and traditional crafts and traditional imagery. I mean, the snowflake, I mean, how long has that been? Forever. That's
Forever.
Yes. If you like in Shetland Fair Isle knits all have a snowflake of some variation or other, and and the way they put more color through as well to give it a lot more of richness and its own sort of identity. I wanted to keep this more to two colors, because obviously we're thinking of beginner knitters for this, as beginner people who might have got a bit of experience with color work, but maybe not quite at the stage where they can think about knitting too many colors within there. So I've stuck to two colors, but then obviously made them more colorful by making each square different colors for the garland and the festive colorways. So that gives that sort of nod, that feel of a traditional Fair Isle. There is a little bit I couldn't avoid actually with the tree and the stag. Actually, there will be a little bit. You won't be able to strand, or well, a very 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 experienced stranded color who works with stranded color work would be able to Fair Isle it, weave the weaving the yarns at the back of the work. So we're sort of doing, the second tutorial will include a bit of intarsia. So so where it's bigger blocks of color, where it's more difficult to carry the yarn at the back of the work. So obviously the more stitches you carry at the back of the work, it starts to pucker and pull and strange things happen. So but certainly the snowflake, that's the beauty of the snowflake imagery. You can do, it's easy to you don't have, because of the way the imagery works, you're not having to strand your yarn at the back of work over too many stitches. So it's a good introduction to sort of base. I mean, it looks complicated, but actually this kind of is the most basic that you can kind of get with color work. There's no other way around it. Basically, if you want to do color work, it's you've got to have to there isn't an easy road into it, if you know what I mean. It's actually just trying to get your your tension working and the feel of you and using two yarns together, and again with felted tweed, it's such a forgiving yarn for doing color work, and it's got that stickiness, so you're not going to have a problem with losing stitches, and it's got some elasticity as well. So it's great for when you're trying to keep your tension even by spreading the stitches on the needle. It has a lovely bounce to it. So
can you talk about the fact that this is worked flat? I know a lot of knitters have worked in the stranded knitting in the round, and this is another level of expertise, working the purl side stranded.
Yes, working the purl side. Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Isn't it isn't, knitters don't love doing pearl fair isle. That will be included in the first tutorial. So it would be nice to the next step would be, would be great to do a steeked version. I think that would, but I think the idea of doing it in little squares, also from a point of view of because you're purling, you haven't got a huge amount of knitting to, you're purling across quite a small 8-inch square, so it's not too problematic like if you were having to do like what I'm wearing, which is quite, whatever, 23 inches
Right.
wide. That would probably give people more of a headache. I mean, I suppose I'm before the steeking revolution. I guess I got used to just working flat and knitting.
No,
and
I get it.
purling.
That's how I learned. I mean, I learned with
that's how.
Kay Fassett's Persian poppy
Yes, and I mean that's
knitted flat.
even more complicated because you're having to carry, you've got more colors to manage. This is only 2 colors, and you're actually able to strand it. But with the cave, obviously he's got lots of different colors just in one row, so you're ending, it's sort of a bit of a sort of cross intarsia stroke fire isle kind of thing going on, which I know that causes a headache for a lot of people. But I think as well, just I think people are sort of averse to doing it, but not so adverse to doing it on this scale. If it's a small, I wanted something that was more transportable as well. So to make, I mean, it would be feasible to do this as a all in. Somebody with a lot of experience would probably just do it all in one and do the steeking. But I think we've got to think about for knit-alongs, we have to think about all knitting levels. So if you're a beginner, it's a bit even though at least you're getting the idea of the technique of just carrying the yarns, whether it be on the
I'm not criticizing it at all. I think
no
whenever I teach knitting, you teach knitting and everybody falls in love with knitting, and then you're like, okay, here we're going to purl, and they're like, oh, I don't like purling, but they get it. Eventually you just have to get introduced to it, and you have to do it a few times, and then it's not so bad. You just do it.
There's a lot of, I'd say to them, it's perseverance, and it's not such a big project if you had to rip it out and do it again. And I think the last knit along project I did, a lot of people were saying about they were finding it difficult to purl, and I said just keep it going, just look at the tutorials, keep on practicing, and then knitters would come back and say, oh gosh, yes, I can see as my swatches have progressed how much the problems have been ironed out, and I'm getting something that I'm really, really happy with. So it's I realize it's not ideal. We are trying to do more.
It's fine. I was just wondering if there'd been any kind of pushback on it. We're teaching a class on how to do the stranded flat. And we again, like you, we recognize it as something that people have to learn. It's a technique like everything else. And, at some point you'll want to learn it, or you'll decide that those are not your projects.
No. And I think as well, it's great to have that skill, because then there are lots of things like that out there that, are very beautiful, and you'll have the skills to knit, to be able to knit those up. It is something that, but actually from the general consensus, people are happy with this, as long as they've got the support to go with it, so they can, they've got tutorials so they can see how it works, and that's quite important for them to
absolutely,
to be able to feel like they've got somebody actually encouraging them along, and I'll be involved with that as well. So when I first started out, everything was flat. We didn't knit particularly, oh, I don't remember knitting anything in the round. I don't think there was even patterns that available then when I was knitting in the 1970s and 80s. It's quite, you know, so it's interesting the way that knitting has evolved over the last decade, really.
Sure.
I think this is good for a sort of somebody who's got a few who's just sort of starting out on their colour work journey. I think it will just help them sort of progress to kind of the next level and get comfortable with the feel of doing stranded colour work, because of course at the end of the day you get such a beautiful looking piece. You know, that's what I love about color work. It's just so stunning when it works, and the tension and everything is working. So yes, we'll be there holding your hand anyway.
No, I love it. I think, it's like everything. You learn the skill. You have to learn the skill. You want to do the thing, you learn the skill, and then you've got it. And I love that. And I love that Rowan is encouraging people to do that. I'm a very traditional knitter I knit things flat. I love seams. I'm a dinosaur on that. But
but
they fit better, they look better, they last better.
Yes, no, I mean, I'm the same. That's how I think, and it's the same for me. I'm learning top down and working in the round. I'm doing more and more of that. I've been making little steps into my first sort of top down projects, and it's a learning curve for me, but I need to know these skills as well. I mean, I'll always go back to knitting flat because I think seaming gives that lovely tailored feel, like you're wearing a tailored coat or a tail, especially if you want something really, really fitted. I just think it works personally for me. But we've got lovely young designers who are all, they're all much that they've been brought up with knitting on circular needles and working top down, and they're coming up with some wonderful things as well too. So so we're all still learning, basically. Even at my age, my grand old age of 65, I'm still learning still learning in the knitting world, definitely.
Isn't that a beautiful thing about knitting it, that no matter how good you are, no matter how long you've been doing it, there's always something new to learn, to challenge yourself with,
absolutely.
to grow into. I mean, it's a skill, a hobby, for your whole life,
Yes, exactly. Yeah, I've been I've been knitting since I'm the age of 5, and it's always been there, and I never thought I'd make a career from it. It was always something that I would do, but and then it just knitting thing. I used to knit garments and sweaters for friends when I was at art school, and I had no idea of pattern writing or shaping or anything. I just sort of launched myself, and it taught me an awful lot, and again, that's still the case, and still learning. There's all sorts of fantastic things coming up in knitting constantly. There's all new ways of putting things together, new ways of and stitches as well. So it's evolving all the time.
How can people join into the make along? Give us all the details on that.
Yeah, sure. Okay. Well, you need to go to rowanconnect.net. So Rowan Connect, as in Rowan Connect, CONNECT.net, and the landing page. If you scroll down, there'll be a sign up button for the midwinter knit along. So if you click on that to sign up, it launches Thursday, the 17th of August, with the first release, and that's with a tutorial. I'll be doing a little introduction to all the square releases as well, and there's 6 in total. The squares I showed you, there's the 4 snowflakes, the reindeer, and the pine forest tree. So the 17th of August, the second release is on the 24th of August, and that's again with a tutorial, and that will incorporate some intarsia for some of the areas of the reindeer and the tree that you might like to intarsia rather than Fair Isle. and then we go through August and release 7, which is at the 28th of September. So we're going weekly until or 2 weekly until the 28th of September, which is release 7 with another tutorial, and that will be for the blanket trim and joining the squares together. You can just see the trim here, and I've used avocado for the blanket
Here, hang
trim.
on, let me.
Yeah,
trim,
so,
yes, okay.
So release 7, which is the last release, we've got 6 square releases, and the last release is for the trim. This is just a very simple pick it up, knit garter stitch with a mitered corner, as it's the example here in avocado, and actually how and ideas of how to join the squares together. In between that, the release 4 will have a virtual live meetup at between 5 and 6 p.m. UK time. So that will be a catch up with myself and Kerry Kimber, who hosts all our Rowan Connect sessions. And that's just to see where people are, if there's anything, any feedback, any questions, any help that they might need, and that they're happy the way things are progressing. So that will be the release 4. And also, I think we're slotting in another release in September. There's 2. I'm sure there's 2. Oh, sorry, no. There's a casting off party on the 12th of October with a live virtual meetup at, between 7 and 8 o'clock.
So Rowan Connect is via Zoom, right?
Yes, it's via Zoom. So you'll be notified as well by email when the releases are happening and when to join in with them. They'll all be recorded, so if you miss them, you can go back into Rowan Connect and see the recording for the actual tutorials, the introductions, and just talking about the actual square that we're releasing that particular week, and then as I say, there'll be at the end in 12th of October, we have the casting off party. Will be just wrapping up the whole the knit along, and then we hopefully can see some finished projects. I'm trying to, during this process, we're trying to encourage people, knitters, to come up with their own colorways as well, should they wish to.
Sure, I can see that. Go ahead.
Yeah, we know we've got 60 colorways now, in 60 colors, sorry, in felted tweed. So that, as I say, it's the infinite number of colorways you can put together. I mean, even the cut. I was saying when I was talking about it recently, even the browns in felted tweed, and brown is not really a color that I particularly would go for as a flat color, but even the browns in felted tweed are really beautiful because of that richness, because they've got the tweediness and the shine and everything to them. So do look, do look online or go to your local store and have.
We carry every single color of felted tweed at Crazy for
You. Do you? Gosh, well, brilliant. That's fantastic to know. Yeah,
so beautiful.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it's incredible. And I was saying you can't go wrong with colorways on felted tweed because I think everything just works together. Even some
they're gorgeous, and the subtlety of the. There'll be 2 colors that you think, oh, they're the same color. No, they're not.
Yeah,
they're just slightly.
No,
and it makes a difference sometimes. One is a little yellow, one is a little green.
Yeah, yes, it does. Yes, even the yellows and the oranges, and we've got 3 reds now, and they're all very different. They all have a different quality to them. The rage, the tawny, and the scarlet. They work so beautifully.
So there's a nominal fee to participate in the make along, yes?
I think it's free, isn't it?
Is it? Okay. All
yes, right. I believe it's free to sign up. I'm sure that's the case. Hopefully I've got that correct.
Well, we'll look and see.
Yes, just double check, but I'm sure we had somebody actually asked that question, and Carrie confirmed that it was free to sign up. As I say, you'll be notified every time there's a release, so it's not as though you have to keep going back into Rowan Connect to find out what's going on. We'll keep you updated all the way
So
down the line.
free is great. Even if there were a nominal fee, I think it would be so worth it to get the
Yes.
tutorials from
Yeah.
Martin and to be part of that group that's making
Yeah.
along.
Yeah.
Just wonderful. You know, this is such a beautiful heirloom piece, whether you make the whole
Yes.
afghan or a couple cushions, and a
Yeah.
beautiful gift, and just something to help you get in the holiday spirit, I think, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I'm going to actually have a couple of pieces for myself. Unfortunately, I can't keep the samples that I'm viewing tonight. But when I saw the cushion, I thought, actually, that's fantastic. You know, you could make 3 in different colorways together, and I think that would look, really fantastic over the Christmas period, having those dotted around your home. I must say, the cushion, if you did want to knit the cushion, we're only giving verbal instructions when we'll repeating this as we go through the process, but the actual cushion itself takes 3 balls of the base color. So it would take 3 balls in this colorway. It would take 3 balls of the base color, the clay, and then just 1 ball in each of the colors that you want to knit the
Yeah,
squares in. So we felt we needed to focus really on just the blanket, because
sure.
the more projects you bring in, the more complex it becomes, and knitters
Right.
get confused what's what. So that's why we put the cushion together as simply as possible, and it's not something you need instructions for, because you're basically just using the squares from the blanket. There's no
Sure.
other elements to it. So but they do look really beautiful, and actually these swatches, they're the 9 squares that form the cushion.
There we go.
The,
So
the,
you could do a little blanket for every room in your house. You could do,
yes,
you know, even
yeah,
if you
little
didn't do a square cushion, you could do one of those little love
yeah,
bar,
yeah. And
you
somebody
know.
was even saying just doing a square and framing it, so you've got like a knitted Christmas picture. Um,
Yeah.
and 4 squares, say, it would make a really nice tote bag. Even you could
Oh, look
convert
at
that
that. That would
into
be brilliant.
so that's the beauty of having the squares. You could easily adapt into other projects, and I think in previous knit-alongs, I've seen people going off in a complete tangent and bringing them. And I think one of our knitters was using imagery to embroider with, even. So
Ooh,
that was so. I think it's always great if it's an inspirational thing as well. Even if you don't go down the route of knitting a blanket, you might be inspired to just do it simply in your way. So that's what I want to see at the casting off party. I want to see people's take on this, and also encourage people to come up with their own square ideas that they might slot into the blanket. They might think, oh, I'd like to do something that's personal to me. I'd like to include whatever imagery, as long as they work within the frame of the they work within the frame of the square.
oh, do their
You
own
could
chart.
do
Oh,
their
I
own
love
chart.
that. Could they
So I
use could they use any of the graphs from the love blanket from 2
yes,
years
yes,
ago?
they
Would
could.
that would
Yeah,
be nice. You could
yes,
pop
they could.
those in, or,
Yeah.
initials or something, and make it
Yeah,
really.
exactly. Yeah,
I love that.
yeah. So to make it personal, I saw a lot of that in the knitted with love blanket. I know that was more about it was including cable and texture and everything as well. But I can, with people just putting their initials and dates and names of loved ones, that would be nice, just in a corner or something of the blanket. That would be great to see. So that I think once people actually start working on the project, I think they'll start thinking, oh yes, I think I can include something. They know how many stitches and rows they've got to work with within the square. I think they'll hopefully be encouraged to come up with their own ideas as well. So this is what
I love that.
that's what I want to see. My as I say, everything I'm bringing to this knit along is just my idea of how I wanted it to look. But I think it's great if people can put their own personal touches onto it as well too. Yeah,
Absolutely beautiful. And that gives people a chance to sort of, the beginners are going to follow exactly what you do. The people who are a little more advanced are going to maybe
yeah,
go out on their own and do their
yeah,
own graph. And
yeah,
I can
yeah,
see somebody starting, say, oh, I'm just going to do one, and then getting
yeah,
so addicted to it, they're going to do
yeah,
the whole blanket, maybe
yeah.
two.
Well, yeah, I think as blanket proportions goes, this is the most sort of easy to manage blanket that we've done. I think the blankets we've done in the past have been, I think, they've been quite substantial size, and I think that the issue is, it kind of gets left aside, put aside for other projects, and people come back because it's sort of quite a challenge, and it's something so big. But this is definitely not that. It's not too small that it looks mean, but it's not too big that it's sort of it's overwhelming. So yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
great. If
it's
great
perfect.
it'd be great if people, even if they knit a cushion as well to go alongside that, that'd be really lovely to see. Definitely.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm excited for this make along, and I just wanted to thank you so much for your
Thank you.
time, Martin. It's always a pleasure to chat with you.
Yeah, and
And
you
I wanted
too.
to tell everybody here that we have a link in the description for kits to this beautiful knit along that you can order. And I wanted to remind you that it is rowanconnect.net. And I will put a link to that in the description as well, so that you can go there and join this make along, learn and grow and be part of it and make something beautiful. So
Yeah.
until next time, and I look forward to talking with you again in the future too, Martin. Thank you again for
Thank
your
you.
time.
Thank you, Ellen. Yes, and thank you everybody for joining me
All right.
today.